Hi, this is Marcus Pulis, and this is Aquarian Anarchy. Joining me today again is my friend Chad Lemoine from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And before I get started, don't forget to like, share, please comment. Chad and I love to argue, so have at. And don't forget to visit the store where you can get shirts like Chad's wearing, the background like I'm wearing, and those sorts of things, and help support this station, and so that I can get more stuff and better cameras and all that kind of stuff.
Subscribe to that channel too, so you can
That's right.
Get the notifications and everything when Marcus posts. So.
Yep. And so this week we're gonna again do something a little bit different. Instead of covering the news, which we tend to do, we're going to just cover what's going on in the Libertarian Party right now, which is to some people exciting, to some people a big bag of fuckery. It is.
I was going to say fuck-tarded, but
Right, yeah. But and one of the main reasons is, other than the continued government flu, there really isn't a lot of news anyway. So I guess I can kind of start with what I mean by the Libertarian Party fuckery. One of the reasons why I came to the Libertarian Party was, and to be clear, it's because of Adam Kokesh. That's the reason I joined the Libertarian Party. Go ahead.
Hashtag me too.
Right. And but I'm an anarchist, but my journey started very differently, and I like Chad, started off really exploring the ideas of liberty in the GOP. I was a grassroots supporter and worked my ass off for Ron Paul in 2012. My wife had been involved in 2000, not really involved, but it's been a Ron Paul supporter in 2008 when I was retarded. And so I was still watching Glenn Beck and being stupid at the time.
Hey. Every stepping stone, right. Like what is that old Rascal Flatts song? Every what is it? God bless the broken road that led me straight to you, or something like that.
Exactly.
It got you here. So
that's right. But I had pretty much given up on the LP entirely until I spoke to Adam, or on politics in general, including the LP, until I talked to Adam. I had voted for Libertarian Party candidates multiple times. I did vote for Gary Johnson in 2016. The only reason, and this really is the only reason that I voted for Gary Johnson, was because I lived in a heavily Republican district, and I thought it would be hilarious to go in and tell them I was waving my Johnson around. So that is literally the only reason I voted for him. So had his name been Smith, I wouldn't have voted for him at all. But Adam gave me hope about the Libertarian Party, that this might be, that it's changing, and it's not just Republicans with the bong and all those kinds of things. Right. And I remember telling both him and Ben, who was Ben was his campaign manager at the time, that I'm an anarchist, Adam. I don't believe in any of this shit. I think your plan makes some sense, and it gets us to that voluntary society that I want to get to in a nonviolent way.
Right.
And so
and faster, I think, too, if it
right, for sure.
You got enough people to get behind it. Yep.
Yeah. So I thought, I'll get involved and see what it is, because these people are supposed to be very similar to me. Maybe they're not quite an anarchist, but
you sound just like me.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is great. It's like, and I got on the phone with one of the people who was at the event where I met Adam and Ben, and I was saying something about it. He's like, oh, let me just tell you, I'm not an anarchist. I think that's like crazy. And I was like, wait, what? I thought we were all in this. I was like, all right, well, like, and I really had a thing where I thought, okay, let's just think of it this way. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And let's not argue over whether we're going to crab walk, crawl, sprint, do cartwheels, or, run backwards over the finish line, because by the time we get to where we can see the finish line, nobody's going to give a shit anyway, because at that point we're all free.
Right.
So let's not argue and quibble over, what the ideal looks like, because we're nowhere close to the ideal. Let's just get as far down to that ideal as possible, as fast as possible, so that then when we get there, we're so free already at that point and that's where like the localization thing really, really appealed to me, because I was like, okay, no, this is perfect, because this gives the people who want to clutch their pearls and can't seem to let go of having someone else tell them what to do, if they want to voluntarily give the authority to tell them what to do to someone else, they can go do that wherever they want to. But I'm tired of having this bullshit of like, if you don't like this, move somewhere else. There's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
There's nowhere in the world to go that you don't get people. And that's what the thing I tweeted the other day. I vote for people to leave me alone, and everyone else says, no, we voted to keep fucking with you. Like, no, I don't agree. I don't assent to this fuckery. Like, let me go. Leave me alone.
Exactly. So for me, I started getting involved. I remember it was like I came on board with Adam like in the middle of September in 2000. What would it be? 2017. God damn. Anyway, middle of
it was like late 2017. I met him in, I think it was October of 17. They came to an event in New Orleans, so it was probably like a couple of months or so after.
Yeah.
After you
right
up the taxation and theft tour in your backyard.
Yeah, and so hooked up with Adam, and so this is like maybe November. I walked in. I had a bunch of books because Adam had left me with a case of his book Freedom. Yeah. So I walk in I had a little bag. I remember it was a little Halloween bag. And I walked in to the Marion County, which is, I live in Indiana, and that's in Indianapolis is Marion County. It's the largest city in the state. And I walked into their meeting expecting to find, and I knew that not everybody was going to be on board with it because I understand how politics works, and I understood that you know
where you were and where your journey along the way. I try to keep that in perspective. Mm-hmm. That okay, let me not talk to these people like an asshole, not talk to them like they're idiots, because I've been an idiot too. And if somebody had tried to sell me this shit that way, probably wouldn't have gone over very well. And actually, the people who did, gently tugged me along the way, they were really, really polite and respectful, and just offered some ways for me to view the thing from a different perspective, and like some things to go and research, some things to think about, instead of beating me over the head with the "you're an idiot" stick. So
So I walk into my first thing, and I'm thinking at this point, I think my title, this is like November, my title at that point was media director or something like that. It was not press secretary. Later, that comes later. Mm-hmm. But so I walk in as the media director or whatever for Adam, and he's not announced yet. But so I walk in expecting like, oh, because I've been involved in different groups where when you're tied to somebody, it's you expect that people will be like, oh, you're almost a celebrity kind of deal. So I expected some kind of respect. I got absolute terror. I got, oh my God, the anarchists have arrived in Indiana. Shit!
I said something about, because it was like a couple of months later that Adam got arrested in Dallas, or in not Dallas, but in Texas, mm-hmm. In whatever that county was that starts with a
Wise County.
Wise County, that's it. Yeah, there you go. I knew it started with a W at least. But anyways, right, not long after that, and we were talking about this stuff at one of the little libertarian meetups in Baton Rouge, and I said something about, oh yeah, Adam Kokesh just got arrested and then the immediate response was on purpose, and it was like what difference does it make if he does it on purpose, or if it just happens by accident? Even if it's on purpose, it's still to bring attention to the fact that it's a stupid fucking reason to get arrested. Driving down the road in your RV with some stuff in your RV that people don't like. Like this is where, and you talk about, there's not much to talk about in the news, but there's this story going around right now with this guy in Georgia, Ahmaud Arbery, who, and I'm not saying that the dude's like a saint or anything like that. I just don't think you have to be a saint to not get gunned down in the middle of the road by 3 dudes who chased after you in a truck.
Right.
Even if you were peeking into a house that was under construction, partially under construction, even if you were peeking in there because you were, casing the joint to look for something to steal later, if you didn't steal anything and nobody there's a whole lot of fuckery going on. So that idea of like getting arrested for something that shouldn't be a crime, and I'm not saying that what he did there was completely innocent or anything like that, but certainly it's not a capital offense. Right. What he did. And in Adam's case, certainly having some either mushrooms or weed or whatever in your vehicle that some people think, like some shit that grows out of the ground in your vehicle, some plants or some fungus that grows out of the ground in your vehicle that other people have said is not okay for you to have in your vehicle, that they get to pull you over, search your vehicle, fake, whatever the crap was with their dogs, where their dogs like recognize Baloo in the truck, or just like, oh shit, the dog, like, yeah, no shit, there's a fucking dog inside. Maybe that's what perked them up.
Well, but what it breaks down to in that particular situation is, do you own yourself or does someone else own you? What you put in your body is your business. And the thing that is sad about that I have learned over the last 2 years of my 2.5 years of my involvement with the Libertarian Party, and let's be clear, I have dug in. I am not only right now Adam's press secretary, I am the media director for Donald Rainwater, who is running for governor of my state. So I have dug in to the Libertarian Party.
You've done a lot more than I have. I've done a little bit in Louisiana and in my area, my parish, and my we have parishes, not counties,
right?
But and my city, it's not even, it pales in comparison to what you've done. And so kudos to you for that, but sometimes you wonder like whether some of it's all worth it when you see this type of shit that's going down right now.
Well, one of the things, and I want to get into that, but I want to give just a little bit more background of the fuckery that I felt and I'd like you to cover some of the fuckery that you have felt just coming. We're going to get into the debates. We're going to get into what the LP is trying to steal this for Justin Amash, all that. We'll get into that. But I want to talk about right now my hurdles, and I'd like you to talk about your hurdles of being involved in the LP. Because one of the things, this is a club. And, like Carlin said, this is a club and you ain't in it. And that is exactly how they've made me feel in the Libertarian Party. So when I finally, I need to have a presence for Adam, which means I need to be, involved in the party. So I got involved in the party. I went to meetings.
You got to put the work in. You can't just run your mouth.
Right. And so I figured I have to help my people. So I live in Madison County, which is, for those people that might know a little bit about Indiana, it's near Anderson, Indiana, which is the largest city in our county. And I went to one of their meetings there. And the who was the secretary and is currently the chair of the county party literally told me to shut up. Literally in the meeting told me to shut up. And said, I don't want to hear that Adam Kokesh name out of your mouth again. Because, and keep in mind, I was not just talking about Adam. I was also talking about Rothbard and Mises and Voltaire, because I have a background with history and those kinds of things. And I my personal journey has involved a crap ton of history.
Right.
So I was not only talking about Adam, and I was there with my wife and my friend Michael, who also eventually became part of the campaign, as is Chad.
Yep.
But but of course, Michael and I, being the assholes that we are, she tells me to shut up. We're like, Adam Kokesh, how about some Adam Kokesh? And then Adam Kokesh. And then what about Adam Kokesh?
You turned spam bit on Monty Python, huh?
Oh, yeah. Constantly. Just completely went off on it. But so there was that. And then the real kicker was I got involved and volunteered for Mark Rutherford, who was running for Secretary of State in Indiana. And to be clear, Mark is an amazing libertarian. I don't always agree with Mark, but he is a really good guy. He is principled. He's a minarchist, but he is barely a minarchist. And he is friendly, helpful. He's a libertarian, for sure. So we busted our asses for Mark Rutherford. We went out, we went to events for him. We did a bunch of shit for him. So on the night of the election, which of course he was going to lose, everybody knew he was going to lose. The whole purpose of why it's a big deal is that in Indiana, the Secretary of State, which is what he was running for, is the determiner. You have to get, I think it's 2% of the electorate on the Secretary
ballot access.
For ballot access.
Yeah.
So it's a big damn deal, right? So we go into this meeting to, we got so many percent, which I think we got like 3 or 4% or something like that. A respectable amount for libertarians, to be clear.
The threshold was 2, though?
Do what?
The threshold was 2?
Yeah. So we got ballot access,
yeah,
for sure.
The threshold easily, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we're there, and Mark Rutherford is like giving his speech, and doing whatever, and he starts naming off all of the people that helped him. So he's like, and I'm thankful to this person who worked on his campaign. Yay, everybody claps. Then I'm thankful for this person who worked on his campaign. Yay, everybody claps. I'm thankful for this volunteer. Yay, everybody claps. I'm thankful for Marcus and Amber, and he said Pulis, but Pulis, not a clap, not a thing. The room was dead. Then, and thank you to so-and-so. Yay! We got nothing.
They just got tired of clapping. They got right back perked up again.
Right. We were the second people that it was mentioned because we had worked our damn asses off. We were the second people that got mentioned of about 10. And so we were the only ones that did not get a hurrah and a clap. Now, I chalk part of that up to that a lot of these people still don't know who I am at that time.
Right.
But that is the kind of welcome.
Like once you go a little bit longer, you would expect for that to maybe change, at least taboos.
Yeah.
You don't want crickets.
So let's fast forward. All right, we are at this year. I've done stuff. I worked for the Senate campaign for Lucy Brenton here in Indiana. I didn't do a lot for her, but I did help, made memes. Worked for her. And I also worked for Brian Ellison, but he's in Michigan. So anyway, worked for Indiana Libertarian Party for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Went out, knocked on doors for Don. He was running for mayor at the time. Knocked on doors for him, was the most dependable person. When it was funny because Don would have a thing, and because there was another guy, his name's Eric, who was a Kokesh supporter. So he'd have a door knocking. It'd just be Kokesh people. Like nobody else would show up, but the Kokesh people showed the hell up.
Yeah, and this is your candidate to keep the LP alive in Indiana.
Well, this is Don.
This is late. Okay, that's the campaign.
Right. Yeah. So So anyway, so we're trying to, he's just running for, at this time, just running for mayor. And, but it's the county right next to mine and all that. So anyway, so this year, okay, so over the 2 years, we've been very active, went to lots of meetings, did lots of things. And so they know who we are now, right?
Right.
Right before I'm getting ready to literally go into like that the next day, go in, and it is the day that my shit runs out, right? The chances to be a delegate run out. I had gotten a free membership, and they changed the rules that day to make it to where I had to be a paid delegate. And the reason to go. And so they tried to strip that shit right away from me and my wife. That's 2 delegates for Adam gone, right?
And
well,
this
I fought it.
An Indiana
yeah.
Membership deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And so what we did was it ended it.
Louisiana.
What?
So I don't even know if we have a free membership in Louisiana. I've always paid to.
Yeah.
It's $25, but.
Right. Well, Indiana itself doesn't have a free membership, but you can be a free. Used to be you could be a free member of the National Party, and they'd recognize it. Well, now that's not true. But where they fucked up is they reached out to me on the last day, and I had money, so I went and bought two memberships to the LP. so we were good. Anyhow, so they tried that. That didn't work. So we get to the convention here in Indiana, and they didn't bother. I'm in the convention. I have paid my money, $100-some. It's like $165 to be at this stupid thing, and hobnob with people that hate me. And so here I am with that there, and somebody, I introduced myself to somebody that was there that I didn't know. And he goes, "Oh, I needed to talk to you. There's a problem with because the LP didn't process. Remember, I got it on that Friday. They didn't process it until Saturday. So they're saying that it's not good. Well, luckily there was somebody standing there who was a bigwig in the party. Used to be Nick Sarwark's campaign manager, and luckily he was standing there, and he had seen me several times and said, "No, I'm pretty sure he's good." I said, "I have emails that I can," and he goes, "Nope, you're good." And he vouched for me, which led me to being able to be a delegate. I was elected fair and square, and not at the bottom of the list, as a delegate from Indiana.
So what was the problem? Like they were saying that you weren't eligible as a member for national,
right? Because they hadn't processed till Saturday in the
Indiana thing.
Well, because in Indiana you had to have so many days before the convention that you were a member, and I literally got it on the last day, but it didn't process till the next day.
Hey, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but he vouched for me. I managed to get it done. Now you might say, well, how did you get elected if these people don't like you? And the reason is because I'm a nice goddamn guy. The reason that I got elected is because I managed to become friends with Mark Rutherford, who voted for me, for Don, who voted for me, for Don's wife, who voted for me, and we have turned into a Kokesh supporter. That's okay. So we managed to convince, and Lucy, remember, worked for her. Right. She voted for me. So we lined up, and Michael, I can't remember his last name. Anyway, he does what I do for Adam for Vermin Supreme. He lives I can't remember his last name right now. Anyway, he lives here in Indiana. And so we agreed to vote for each other because we knew we were coming for some shit. So I managed to line up enough people to get me elected. So that's the trouble I've had. And this whole time, people like Joe Houtman, who I don't care to say is an asshole because he's an asshole, has been trying to literally trying to push me out of the party. Many of the other people are just rude to me, but he has been like, why are you here? I don't want your kind in my party. Instead of Adam, I would rather vote for Hillary Clinton than Adam Kokesh.
Then go fuck yourself, man.
Right.
But anyway, so what's really where to start with that? What's disheartening about that, and what is really frustrating about that, is that, like, there are some folks who are trying to be helpful, who are trying to they recognize the energy that you and I have and people like us have, and the principles that we espouse, and the fact that we are not down with this kind of fuckery, and they want us to somehow find a way to change this thing from within, and to play nice, somehow find a way to make friends with people who intentionally and constantly try to stab you in the back, take your knees out from under you, or whatever else.
Right.
And the phrase that gets thrown around is, it takes hard work, or you could just take your ball and go home. Well, like, I speak in metaphors very well. I'm fluent in metaphor. And the way I describe it is, I'm not taking my ball and going home. I just want to play, and I'm trying to find the ball, and they keep hiding it from me. And whenever I get close to it, they like take it and run off with it.
Yep.
And then they throw it at the back of my head and shit like that. And I don't think I've had necessarily the same like face-to-face in my own state or in my own city or parish or anything like that type of encounters. Like, a lot of the people who I've worked with, they're very, now they may not like Adam, but they don't like hold it against me. They don't begrudge me. They see me for who I am, and I respect that. Like, we can agree to disagree on that, and on what they think of Adam as an individual, or what they think of his platform or his approach to promoting that platform or whatever. But they've never held that against me. And so I guess my animosity is pointed towards, or not my animosity, but my frustration and my disgust is more directed at, I don't have to have like this mountain of evidence that says definitively I can tell you, for instance, like, say what you want to say, Michael Jackson, did he do what they say he did, or did he not? I don't know, but I'm not letting him fucking babysit my children.
Right.
Like, he may be perfectly innocent. I kind of think he might be, I don't know. I think that there's a whole lot of times where, you go listen to, like, They Don't Care About Us and some of the other songs that he was starting to do towards the end of his career. And there's a whole lot of stuff in there that's like, he's kind of letting you know that, like, he's onto some fuckery that's going on in the music industry and everything else. So I don't know that there might not have been some foul play there, and with, how he ended up dying. But I'll say this, I can forgive, I can move on, but I don't have to trust you. You have to earn my trust. You have got to earn my trust. I cannot just blindly put faith in an organization that has continually found these ways. And I get it. I understand. I'm not trying to throw any like aspersions toward people who are obviously faced with something that no one could have predicted. Like, wow, they're gonna fucking shut the world down over like something that, like, I don't want to get into all that shit. We've covered this like 2 episodes, so I don't want to get into the whole Roni. But we know that there's some fuckery going on with how that stuff's being handled with the response and everything else. But who would have known? Like 6 months ago, there's no way we could have predicted, like, hey, yeah, we're not going to be able to, like, fly, get together more than 10 at a time, be more than or fewer than 6 feet apart, or any of that bullshit. Like, nobody knew this stuff was coming or was really even a possibility. And yeah, like, there's a real reason why you avoid letting online polls be the way that you decide shit like this. It's because it's really easy to fuck it. Like, you can really easily tamper with it and manipulate it. There was one of the things where, like, you could vote like 6 times on a poll. You could just keep voting over and over again. Like, who's to say how this stuff is going to be stopped or handled or managed or anything like that? And so in person is the way that everybody always wanted this to be. So I get that there are people who are struggling to figure out how to make this thing happen the way it was supposed to happen, or as close to that as possible. And then you have the deadlines with ballot access and being on the ballot for the presidential election and all that kind of stuff, and you don't want to fuck the whole thing up. I get it. It's not an enviable position to be in. But that does not mean that there's not still some shit where you've got the chairman of the party who's been sniffing up Justin Amash's ass for over 2 years, and all of a sudden, here comes Justin Amash at the end of the cycle, ready to swoop in and steal the whole thing, and guess who wants to be his VP? Somebody mentioned it. He said, I'd love to do that. Boom, boom, boom. I don't know. He probably fucking told whoever that was, hey, post this, and I'll say I would love to do that. Like, ain't that hard.
So I want to back up. I want to back up to kind of clarify for those that might be listening that don't maybe know what exactly is going on. And I'm getting a little bit of reverb from you. I'm hearing myself back. I don't know if that's going to come back. Okay. Yes, it is. Okay, awesome. So anyway, so what Chad's talking about is it came up that they cannot have the convention, the Libertarian National Convention in Texas on the date that they said. Okay, so they decided that we're going to do something about it. I want to be clear. In Indiana right now, they have a limit to how many people can be in a particular place in a particular time. I think right now it's 100 people. By the time this would be going on, it would probably be 100. But one of the big problems they've had also is that, like, going into Texas, you have to quarantine for 14 days. That's also true of Florida, which is where they eventually decided to have the convention. But
so I'll say this: that's not true.
Okay.
About Texas, that's bullshit.
Oh, really?
I go into Texas every week.
Huh.
I didn't go last week because
so it's not every state. Certain states.
I don't even get checked. No, but Texas had a thing where, like, they could quarantine you for 14 days. Like, but it never happened. Like, I had my little papers that said I'm essential, whatever. I work in the paper industry, so, like, cardboard boxes and toilet paper doesn't get any more essential than that. But I was going through every week and getting waved on through. Then they stopped. The barricades weren't even there the last time I went 2 weeks ago. Yeah. I'm going over there again tomorrow.
Let's assume what we've heard is true.
Right.
In Indiana,
saying, like, the fact that
if there is 100 person, what you do, this is a solution that I could come up with. There's a public park, can't have over 100 people there, which is probably not true. I bet you that park can, because Walmart can have more people. Walmart can have like 250. So let's say that you can only have 100 people at the park. All right, great. Your times to show up and vote for this are this and this. In Indiana, you run in, you vote, you leave. Next group of people come in.
Chair and the vice chair of the party are there, and a few other people to validate, verify everything, just like they are at the national convention. That's who you give all your tokens to anyway. You give it to the state chair, and they go, or a proxy if they're not there. They have their line of succession. If they are in the bathroom or whatever the fuck else.
Right. You have a physical way to gauge how it can be done. So what I'm saying is it could have been done.
Yep.
Where they didn't do it, but they decided to do this digitally. It's going to happen digitally. So what that does, and
it would have been easier to do what you're talking about, because then you don't have to leave your state.
Right.
You just have to go to basically what amounts to a state convention where you go vote for president and vice president, and then we could have our Orlando, other convention like we're doing anyway. We're fucking doing that shit anyway.
Right. So all that aside, okay, so that didn't work. Arvin has been pointed out how, because you're right, the fuckery that they can do online is amazing. They will make Justin Amash, who, let's be clear, has not declared as a presidential candidate as of today. As of this is Tuesday.
He's in the Kentucky Libertarian debate.
Right, right. But has not declared as a candidate. Not at all. Has not done it. He has an exploratory committee.
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
But they're going to coronate his ass after only running for president for a matter of days.
Right.
By the time this is all done. So, anyhow, all that aside, okay, Arvin has been very good at this. Arvin Vohra, who is also running for president,
who was as
Libertarian
last cycle,
yeah, he's been very good on this. He has said what they're doing is because they think that Amash will not get over 50%. They're pretty certain of it, but he might get 40. Okay,
right.
And what he said is, let's say that Adam
they don't want people getting together and talking and figuring out, congregating to figure out a way to not let him get it.
Correct.
So if we're all isolated, it's the same way the same thing that the government is doing to us with all this stay-at-home, alone together bullshit is isolate everyone, and then you can scare the shit out of people, or you can tell them that if they don't do something, they're going to get in trouble, and here you go. Now you can't go get together and talk about this stuff, except on Facebook where they can watch you, except on other social media where they can watch you, or they can tap into your phones with the Patriot Act or whatever else.
Right. So what Arvin has pointed out, let's say, I think of the big radical candidates, Adam is probably the most popular. So what Arvin has pointed out is, let's say Adam can only get 20% of the vote, okay? You got to get 50% to win, okay? Right. But let's say Adam can only get 20% of the vote. Well, the way it usually works is that they knock one person off the bottom, and then their voters get to vote again, and they decide who they're on. That's not what they're doing now. They're doing the top five, whoever the top five are, which is going to be, for sure, one of the top five is going to be Amash. One of them is going to be Jacob Hornberger. One of them is going to be possibly Joe Jorgensen, possibly Jim Gray, and then Vermin Supreme. Those are five people. Those are the people that are going to be chosen from. But if you take the numbers from Behrman, because their people are going to filter to Adam, if you take the Vohra people, if you take some of the lesser candidates, they're going to add up, and Adam will wind up knocking out probably all but Hornberger, excuse me, and Amash.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, and then it'll be down to those three.
Right.
And then you end up with, okay, so how do you want to do this? You want an old GOP retread, or do you want a guy who is, I mean, God bless him, but like it's like they're trying to do the old Age of Apocalypse or whatever. They're trying to put the consciousness of Ron Paul into another old white guy.
Yeah,
and it's like
and he's not Ron Paul.
He's not the same guy.
Right, and he is the caricature. Everything they say about libertarians, about uncaring, having great ideas and no fucking follow through. That dude is that. He is the meme of that. And
we're talking about he just talks shit.
Right.
He says things.
No plan.
And then there's and how do you do that? Abolish it. And?
Right.
And then
at least Adam has a plan.
Adam's like, okay, so look. So I'm running for president. Like he made Hornberger made this bullshit statement about how Adams trying to give like total authoritarian, tyrannical dictatorship powers to the states. It's like, are you fucking out of your mind? Like, you're the president. If you're the president, there's like a handful of things you can actually do. You can sign shit into legislation. Okay, you can accept a declaration of war from Congress, or apparently now you can just fucking go to war without the the approval of Congress. You can pardon people. Like there's not very many things that the president can actually do without stuff coming to him from Congress. But since executive orders have been abused profusely, I think it's pretty appropriate that if enough people vote for someone whose express platform is an executive order to jumpstart the immediate, peaceful, orderly dissolution through bankruptcy
of the federal
government, then it's pretty well planned out, and whatever the states do beyond that is out of your control already anyway. Yeah. You can't. What does Hornberger think he's going to tell the states what they can and can't do? And for all the Constitution worship, let me ask you this. How has your Constitution protected you from this corona response bullshit, this lockdown? Yeah. How has your Constitution protected you?
Absolutely. You're completely right. Yeah, exactly. You're completely right. But also on top of that, all the crap that Hornberger, he is one of the Constitution worshipers. All the stuff that he's talking about doing would be unconstitutional.
Right, exactly. Like, let me just abolish this. Like, you can't fucking do that.
Right.
Like, the only thing that you can do is dare Congress to stop you from dissolving the federal government because you have a mandate from the masses, as the writers of the Holy Grail would say. You know, it's like God bless Terry Gilliam and Eric Idle and those guys. You know, that's the, you know, a mandate from the masses is the only way you can do this. Not a farcical aquatic ceremony where some moistened bent lobs a scimitar at you. It's a really disconnected and obviously confused response to call Adams' approach ridiculous, outlandish, and like unconstitutional, and then to act as though like your shit is constitutional when you don't even have a fucking plan. You just have your plan is abolish this. Like, and like, what if Congress says no, motherfucker? Like, I don't want to. There are a lot of people in the Mises Caucus who I respect and love. I don't want to, you know, throw them under the bus with that. You know, cast any negative energy or anything like that towards them. But honestly, like Jacob Hornberger, that's what y'all came up with. Like, come on, man. Like, it's I don't dislike the dude, but I will be perfectly honest. I'm new to the Libertarian Party. I'm not an old party hack. I'm like a guy who realized, just like you did, like probably in the last 10, 12 years, how much this whole system is fucked, and decided to start looking. And I went back, you know, way back to some of the old scholars and even some of the scholars of the last couple of centuries. I never knew who Jacob Hornberger was. And before he got like brought to the fore with the Mises backing that he got, I never knew anything about him or his contributions to libertarianism. I like you, I joined the party because I thought we were joining. I actually honestly thought, like, wow, this is cool. Like, I never thought Adam would actually run for president as a libertarian. Yeah. He can't lose. This is like one of the most libertarian people I've ever known. And wow, holy fuck, people hate him for some reason. I don't know why. And I get it. Like, you know, he doesn't always handle things in the most tactful way. Sometimes he, you know, goes off the cuff and like I just did, you know, I called Jacob Hornberger a motherfucker, you know, I'm just talking. Like I'm
You're
if
a
you
human
can't
being.
take that shit, if you have that weak of a skin, that thin of a skin, you have no chance against Donald Trump or Joe Biden or this media.
Oh my God.
Okay? You're gonna get fucking washed. And I'm sorry, but that's the reality. And if you want to be a bit player and play like I have described it countless times, if you want to play some bitch ass LARP Game of Thrones, you know, go ahead and knock yourself out. But you're really like you're fighting over a fucking wooden sword because you can't do shit with it. Yeah. But if you want to try to go after, because what we've seen too much is that they're either trying to go after the Tulsi Gabbard crowd or the Bernie Sanders crowd or the Republican disillusioned, like they're trying to get disillusioned Democrats and Republicans to see our candidate as like a safe place for those people to go. And what they're completely ignoring is the almost half of the population that doesn't even vote, and not trying to understand why that other half of the population, or 40 some odd percent, doesn't even vote. I think it was like in the low to mid 50s percentage wise, people who actually voted. No, it was actually lower than that. I think total registered voters, Trump and Hillary Clinton combined for like 46%.
Yeah.
Like 23, 22 and a half, 23 and a half, something like that. Somewhere in that neighborhood. So you've got over half of the population, at least half, that might actually be in line, and they might be staying home because they see the fuckery for what it is, and that's your target. But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to try to appeal to disillusioned Democrats and disillusioned Republicans who play the lesser of two evils games every 4 years, or even every 2 years if they're voting in the congressional elections, and in their local shit and all that stuff. We're going to try to appeal to those people at the expense of our actual audience, our actual demographic. We're going to go after the old demographics and try to pick the low-hanging fruit there instead of this fruit that's already like, we've got like a whole gourmet meal prepared for us, and we're going to just ignore it. And actually, we're going to go take a shit on it, and then we're going to go get a GOP retread.
Yeah. Beyond that, they're not only not going to go after the non-voters, they're going to alienate people like you and me.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They're taking a dump on us.
Right.
And so we're already there. Like they're not. Yeah, exactly. They're not going after the people who are preparing the gourmet meal for us. They're like the people who say, "Hey, have you looked out there? There's some people preparing a gourmet meal." They're like, "Fuck you! Get the fuck out of here! I don't want to hear from you again."
Right.
Like,
and so
what the hell?
Murray Rothbard talked about this kind of thing. He said the only way the Libertarian Party, and this isn't a quote, it's just a paraphrase of something he said, but Murray Rothbard talked about this exact same thing. He said you have to offer a radical idea. You have to offer them something that is different, because we already are facing a uphill battle no matter what, because they are already entrenched in either not voting or one of these other two parties. So we have to offer something that makes a difference. What I would say, to base off of him, is that we need to offer something people can vote for, because so often they're voting against.
Right. And that's why, number one, that's why Nick Sarwark has had his nose up Justin Amash's ass this whole time, is because if you watch, because the funny thing is, I'm not going to reveal the entirety of the secret, but my personal account does not do this, but there's another account that I manage / have access to, or whatever, that was getting constant. I turned them off recently, but constant notifications. Every time he tweeted anything, I would get a notification. It has been for like 2.5 years, or however long it's been nonstop anti-Trump. Okay, and I get it. Like, I'm not pro-Trump.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, but when your whole approach is anti-Trump, and then your little boy toy is just an Amash, and now that's your little, that's your way. And I, for a while, I thought, okay, so maybe he thinks the libertarian, like I was trying to like think through it. I was trying to like get into his head without having to ask him, like, okay, what is he thinking? Why is he doing this? Maybe he thinks we already have enough like ex-GOP people, and we need to appeal more to the left. Let's go get, instead of going to get all the people who think Trump's a libertarian, and instead of tweeting and retweeting and posting articles and shit like that about how the left and Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders and whoever else and AOC and all this shit, how they're attacking Trump, instead of like defending Trump like some of the Trumpertarians tend to do, right? He's trying to appeal to a different audience, a different demographic. He's trying to appeal to the left. And he's going with this hard anti-Trump stance to give them something like, hey, if you don't think the Democrats are fighting hard enough against Trump, come over to our side where we take the gloves off, So I try to give him the benefit of the doubt with that. Then like the Amash stuff starts coming. And like what really frustrated me was that, and I know that Adam has invited Amash to join, has applauded him for thinking about joining and then eventually joining and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. There's a different game that you're playing there and all that stuff. And also, I think he really thinks like, hey, this will bring more attention to the party. And, I think I can go toe to toe with him, and I've got a good shot. And if I don't, at least I can bring him this way to where, in order for him to get the nomination, he's going to have to prove, or at least talk about, some more libertarian chops than what he's done as a member of the GOP House of Representatives. So all that stuff starts to come out, but then you start to look at it and you really analyze it. You step back. He wasn't appealing to the left. He was just doing this lesser of two evils type of thing. And if you think about it, and I know you've talked about this, like about how it seems like it's a GOP light sort of thing, and he seems to maybe lean that way more than not. If you think about it, the Trump people ain't going nowhere.
Nope.
They're Trump people, ride or die, QAnons and everything else. Okay, and there's some of the stuff with the QAnons that I'm like, man, I hope they're right. I hope this is true. Like take down all these fucking pedophiles and all this other stuff and everything. But I'm like, how many dimensions is this chessboard? God damn, man. Do we have to go into like, are we working with like Dormammu on this chessboard or something like that? Like we got to go into like a different like physical dimension to join a different timeline or something like that to see what the next move's going to be. But when you think about those Trump voters, they're not going anywhere. They're going to vote Trump. So the opponents of that, if you really want Trump to win, then what do? You bring Justin Amash in, and then I don't fucking like Joe Biden. I hate Joe Biden. But if you want to make sure Trump wins, you split the vote against him, the anti-Trump vote, because we're not offering. If you look at it, if you look at what's actually happened, Sarwark has always been about the Mueller report and the Russiagate, all that bullshit.
Following
no libertarian ideas, 90% of the time. All anti-Trump.
Yeah.
Where's the alternative? Where's the libertarianism?
Well, Amash
is the same thing. Amash has been all opposing Trump on the Russiagate stuff.
Yeah.
Say all about this.
Where's the anti-war?
Impeachment. All about impeachment. Where's the anti-war stance?
Yeah.
Where's the you told us we were gonna bring the troops home? Where's the constant drumbeat from Sarwark and Amash? Bring the troops home. every day, 5 times a day. If you have that powerful of a position, you're the chair of the party, and you're eventually going to run for president of the party, where has the drumbeat for stopping the wars been?
Right. So,
it hasn't been there.
No, I want to add to your analysis. I have a slightly different analysis. I think that Justin Amash is seen by the left as being very similar to Rand Paul. They don't see him, in my opinion, because I think you're right about the Trump people are going to stay there. All Amash is going to pull is the never Trumpers, are the Republicans that are already shitty with him. And that's all he's going to pull. And I think by putting Amash in there, they have made sure that those people that are looking at Biden and going, do I really want the sniffer in chief? And those people are going to go.
Another option now.
Yeah, well, but they don't.
They have I'm saying they have a protest vote. Mm-hmm. They have a I'm not going to vote for a pedophile vote.
Right, but I get that, but I don't think they're going to vote for Amash either.
Oh, you don't think so?
No, I think what they're going to do is stay the fuck home.
Stay home. Yeah. No, okay, I got you on there. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because we're not fighting. It is if it is all about registration, registered Republicans, registered Libertarians, and registered Democrats, the Democrats win every single time. There are more registered Democrats than there are any other party. So if it was just about that, the Democrats win every single time. Right. It is not about that. It is about getting them to stay home. And there are people, and whether you're talking Vermin Supreme, you're talking Dan Behrman, you're talking Adam, some of these people will pull the people on the left that go, you know what? In Adam's case, fuck it. If this shit is bullshit, let's take her all down. You know.
Right.
You know. So,
especially in this climate, like, is there a better time to rail against this system that has fucked everyone over to the tune of 25% unemployment by the time we get to election, maybe 30% unemployment by the time we get to the election.
Yeah. So that's my addition to what you were saying. So what they've also done, and I totally agree with Adam when it comes to the fuckery that is the debates, and that's because I get to watch it. I was nice to these people in Kentucky.
Right.
For those of you that don't know, Kentucky has had a series of, and I don't think everyone realizes how this series worked. Okay, so I'm gonna real quick.
It's really fucked up. And Arvin gave like a really perfect, beautiful analysis of how when the window's this big for one debate and it's this big for another debate, and you do it based on like total votes,
right?
Like you can't help but skew the thing. And then also, if you have like, two really popular candidates in one and one really popular candidate in another one, well, you're naturally going to draw more people, attention and everything else to it. Even if it's just I want to make sure that I vote for my guy so this guy doesn't win, or whatever the case may be. You draw more people to boost the total vote total. Yeah.
So I want to lay out. So this is how the debates. First of all, the first thing people that aren't as familiar with this as you and I are need to understand is that the Libertarian Party has ignored all of these candidates for 2 years. They've been ignoring them. They don't mention them. They never say a damn thing. If they say something, it is always negative. And there have been debates after debates after debates after debates. And they have covered none of them. Not
Zero.
One.
Yep.
Yeah. So
and meanwhile, the chairman of the party has been, balls deep, in this Republican,
right,
until he decided to declare.
Right. So how this works out, and I was involved with every single step because I scheduled Adam for each and every one of these. How it worked is they had a first debate. That first debate included Adam. The first debate, and most people miss that. Right. It included Adam. But the people didn't come out, and there was only about a 5 to 10 minute window for the poll, same as all of the rest of them.
It was 5 minutes.
Yeah. It was actually like 7 for some.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 5 to 10 is an easy way to put that.
Okay.
So for the first, so the first debate, Adam lost, right? That's the bottom line. They could have went with if they had said, okay, Adam got nixed, and I don't remember who else got nixed, but 2 people got nixed off that. If they went, okay, we had decided on these 5 people, these 2 people were eliminated. We're going to have 3 people, bring a mosh in and talk. That would have been okay. I wouldn't have had a problem with that. That's not what they did. What they did was they had a second debate that involved like Gray and Jorgensen. It was a snorefest. I mean, there was nobody exciting, but I think Vermin Supreme was on it. I didn't see it because I wasn't. This is the one of these.
Unless he's like really, really deep in character, he's kind of subdued sometimes too.
Yeah, he reads the platform, but which is what he does. But
no, I mean it's good. I'm just saying it's a very subdued Vermin. It's not Vermin like doing his shtick Vermin. You know.
So okay. So they
I love Vermin, by the way. Like,
right, me too.
I would, there's a handful of people I would get behind with the nomination and not stay home, or not just like, I don't know, not even stay home. I might go run around the block a few times instead of voting. I'm planning on doing this. Yeah. Vermin is one that I wouldn't do it for. I like Dan, Obviously Adam is like top of the list. But they're the rest of those folks, it's tough.
So back to the debates. So the second debate, boring. The third pseudo debate, what it was they took all the
like 16 people or something.
Yeah, it was everybody. Yeah, and I think it was Arvin was the other person that was eliminated from the debate, right? Mm-hmm. And so they had. Excuse me. They had all these people, including the people that were eliminated from the initial debate. So Adam and Arvin were both on that debate. So they held that. Oh, and by the way, just to back up to the second debate, that's the one they held up open for hours with the boring people. So they ensured that those people got a shit ton of votes.
And to the point of like, okay, so Adam lost. Yeah, but when you have 5 minutes, and in some cases, like somebody might not have found out about it, or you know what I mean, like 24 hours versus 5 minutes. Like, what if I was taking a shower, or like I was getting off work and I didn't get home in time?
To give you an example on this debate, because this is something Arvin said in the third debate, Arvin could not get his computer put up, get everything set down in time to go vote for himself.
After he was done being in the debate, participating in the debate.
Yeah, he was not able to vote for himself.
He couldn't even say, by the way, I vote for myself on his final statement or whatever.
Right, he could not do it.
Like, sorry, polling's closed.
Right, that's exactly what happened. So at the end, the whole idea of that was that they now had these 3 candidates from that second debate that they were going to bring in. So we're going to give double jeopardy. Adam and Arvin had to beat all these other candidates, which they did. Adam got over 50% of the vote. The second runner-up was Arvin, who got 17% of the vote. That was number 2. So Arvin and Adam go to the next round that includes Dan and includes Sam Robb.
In spite of the fact that there's very little time to like get your votes in, right? They still advance. Yeah.
Right. So and the reason for that is we were more prepared, because the first one they didn't tell us that we were going to be 5 minutes.
Right.
So anyway.
I'm pretty sure I voted in both of them, but I'm kind of a nerd about that sort of stuff.
Me too. And I voted in them too.
If there's like a, hey, vote for this right after, I'm like, all right, right after I'm going to vote, because if not, I'm going to forget,
Right.
And so I make a point to do it.
So Adam won that one, and I can't remember the third person that was in that, but I remember Dan was in it, and I remember Sam Robb was in it. There was somebody else in it. It wasn't Mons. I don't remember. Anyway, but Arvin and Adam were in it as well. And again, Adam killed. It was a little bit less. It was like 37% or some shit like that. And Dan got second. So the way that I understood it going in, and they said in one email that they would be basing it on vote totals. I had no idea that they had held the other one open for hours and hours and hours, and that they all that. So what wound up happening is, if they had used percentages,
so that's 4 or 5 different debates.
We're at 4 debates at this
point. 4 debates.
3 of which Adam have been in.
One had the voting open for how many hours?
I think it was 2.
It was only 2 hours? Okay.
Yeah, but still,
it's not 5 minutes.
Right. So yeah,
it's quite a bit longer.
Right. So at the end of it, Adam winds up winning percentage-wise. Like, if they used percentage, Adam would be number 1. He would be the first win, for sure. Even if you just averaged the performances together, even the one where he lost, if you averaged it together, he would still win the overall percentages. So anyhow, so they decided in this last debate to invite Amash, because he had said he was possibly going to run. So instead of using the percentages, they bumped Adam out. And they didn't include Dan at all. They were never going to include Dan, which I thought was wrong anyway. I think they should have kept the same pattern. Now, remember, that third debate had 10,000 people in it. I mean, I don't know how many. There was, you were 17. So they said that the reason that they couldn't do it is because the program they're using only allows
5 people.
Yeah, 5 people in the moderator.
Same excuse the Mises people used.
Right, I know. It's amazing that way.
And the Mises people conveniently left out the one guy,
right,
who has made their candidate look like a complete asshole.
Right, I know. And
just by being there, he hasn't even had to do anything.
Right,
he's just been there, and Hornberger has made himself look like an asshole just by Adam's presence.
Right. I agree. And so,
a lying asshole at that.
Right. I agree. So they made it impossible. They did what they could to make it to where Adam could not be on that debate stage. Could not. And that is the first time that the Libertarian Party national carried the fucking debate. Was when they could wipe Adam off and forget about him. The only person that was in any way like challenging in the debate they had was Vermin, and we've had that discussion that when Vermin's on, he's great. When he's not, he's boring. So, but they managed to take any challenge, real challenge, from what I understand, because I did not watch it because I boycotted that shit. But my understanding was that Hornberger actually gave him some hell, which is good. I hope he did.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch that one. I haven't. I mean, we've been moving this week and everything, so it's been a challenge for me to really watch anything. But
where I'm at,
it's tough because and I know that Amash has come out with his leaning toward like localization and everything. And I don't deny the fact that there's a certain level of like national. I mean, he's been around. He's a sitting congressman. Like you can't deny the pull that itself brings, and you can sort of leech off of the mainstream media's anti-Trump sentiment by being a prominent, viable candidate to attack him. Mm-hmm. And then you can actually take that to like kind of use that, turn their sword against them.
Yeah.
By also calling out their own, candidates who they seem to love and worship and everything. But what's frustrating is when you have some legitimate candidates. And I get the whole delegate process and how this whole thing works. I understand, and I'm not trying to do like the sour grapes thing or anything like that, because I know that the candidate who we prefer is not running away with the nomination. Okay, mm-hmm. I get that. I'm not saying that he is, and that it's being stolen from him. And he even, if you go back and watch, I don't know if you saw the thing that I posted yesterday afternoon, where on his live stream, Adam was talking about that because somebody was asking about him running as an independent or any of those other kind of stuff. He's like, look, if we had 60 some odd % of the vote and then it was being stolen from us and we legitimately thought like, hey, let's take these 60% and let's, bolt and do our own thing because the Libertarian Party is corrupt from the inside and it's, ultimate fuckery. That's one thing. He's been pretty level-headed about that, and recognizing that this is the wave. The Amash wave is the wave, apparently, and that there's a way to kind of to take that and not exploit it, but to kind of use that to your advantage and to magnify yourself through that. But what's frustrating is to watch how this whole process has unfolded, and you see all these people who have been going to convention after convention after convention. Dan Behrman, Arvin Vora, Adam, Vermin.
Even
Joe Jorgensen has been, since I think South Carolina, I think was like the first or second state that she was at. And a few others. Ken Armstrong was there for a little while. Mark Whitney was around for a while. I think Sam Robb and some of the other guys have been more in the online debates than in any of the in-person traveling debates. And I get it. I hadn't gone to all those fucking conventions. It's expensive to travel that much. But what's frustrating is to watch Justin Amash just say, "Hey, bitches, I'm here," and everybody's like, "Oh, can I, which one of your nuts can I suck on?" It's really, really, it's very discouraging to watch people just turn around and take a shit on the people who have really put in the work and to just play beauty pageant, media suckfest, and like I said, Game of Thrones live action role play.
Yeah. And where I am, because this is supposed to be the party of principle, right?
Right, exactly. That's where the frustration is. This is where what you and I both, when we talked about our journey, how we got here, this is where we thought, holy shit, I finally have a home.
Yeah.
And then you get there and have you had those days where like you come home from work and you've really been through it that day and you come home and like, somebody bitches at you about the Wi-Fi or somebody bitches at you about this or that or whatever. The water heater, something's wrong with the water heater because the water's not hot or whatever. And it's like, listen, goddammit, I've been working my ass off today and I don't need this shit right now. I kind of feel like that. Like it's like you feel like you came home, but instead you came home to a place where you just want to go back to work.
Right. Well, yeah, and the thing is, what is so sad is, yes, he's going to walk in with 2 weeks left, and the LP's decision isn't should we have Justin Amash or shouldn't we have Justin Amash. It is, should we lick the head of his dick or take the whole thing?
Right.
That's the only question. Yes, are we going?
Well, and Nick Sarwark will tell you, look, man, I have tasted his taint while his cock is in the back of my throat. So it's all good. Just take it all.
Yeah.
Because he's been deep around that since the very beginning.
Yeah, let me just make this clear. Fuck Nick Sarwark. That dude, I do not care. I talked to him in Indiana. And you know what, his big speech in Indiana, because I paid to go to this fucking thing where he tore down vermin. I mean, tore vermin down.
Oh no, he will attack the shit out of libertarians. He will not. Libertarians and Trump is about the only thing he'll go against.
Yeah. So, and he started to tear down Adam and looked at me in the audience. So he knew. Because he goes,
So he is a bitch.
Come on,
so he's a bitch.
He is a bitch.
He's a straight fucking bitch.
Yeah. So fuck Nick Sarwark. But his big speech was, when this is all said and done, he said, when we're talking about, we have a candidate, what we need to do as libertarians is that whoever wins needs to reach out to the other campaigns and bring them on board so that we can come together. Because Gary Johnson didn't do that. That was what he said, right? So I went, he's right. I'm a massive part of Adam's campaign. Right. I'm one of the most respected people in Adam's campaign, and most people know that. So I went up to Nick and I said, let me make this clear, Nick. I said, if Adam wins the nomination, I will make it my mission to make sure that other people from other campaigns get on this. Even if I have to give up my position to do so, I will. Because
somebody better can do it better than you can, or whatever. Yeah.
Let's bring everybody in. We need a Vermin person. We need a Joe Jorgensen person. We need Jim Gray, which Jim Gray wasn't in by then. But we need all of these people.
Can I guess what he said? There's no fucking way Adam's going to win?
No, he didn't say anything. He said, good to know. And that was it. Good to know. And my question for Nick, sucking on fucking Justin Amash's fucking dick, Sarwark, is, does he really fucking think that Justin Amash is going to include people from the Kokesh campaign, is going to include people from the Vermin campaign, is going to
what he's going to do. People. He's going to take all of our dues and he's going to use them to his advantage.
Absolutely.
And he's going to raise money. And he's going to just fucking walk away with it.
Yep. And you're right. I don't think this is about money, because I don't think there's enough money in the Libertarian Party. But
no. There's not. I'm saying he's going to use all of this infrastructure that the dues have paid for. He's going to use all of that. He's going to use the platform, the C-SPAN, coverage, the presence, the CNN coverage. He's going to use all that. He's going to personally raise money for his campaign, assuming he wins the nomination. Because, look, let's face it. The biggest come up in the world is running a presidential campaign where you actually, are one of the people that's on CNN and Fox News. Adam's campaign, Dan Behrman's campaign, Joe Jorgensen, they're not. This is not something these people are getting rich off of. Trust me. Yeah. They're paying their own way to these conventions all over the country when you could travel, and getting next to nothing for it. What I'm talking about is Kamala Harris, Cory Brewer, Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders, Pete Buttigieg, all these folks bringing in massive amounts of money.
Yeah.
Massive amounts of money. Because the media puts them on 24/7, where they're always getting some sort of coverage.
Yeah.
And there's ways that you can kind of finagle through the FEC and all that. You do everything legally, and you just, you have there's certain salaries
I have an office in my house. It's stuff like I have a campaign office in my house.
A house, right. I don't pay my mortgage this year or the next 4 years.
Right. Yeah, I get it. But I still think that what he's doing is he wants something. And I don't know what that something is. Maybe he wants to be brought back into the GOP and made some ambassador or some shit. I don't know what he wants. Right. Or maybe he's aimed at the Democratic Party. I don't know. What I do know is that after he's done running for the Libertarian presidency, once he gets the nomination, because I really actually do believe he'll get it. I think he's I think he's going to get it. And what he's going to do is he's going to run, and he's not going to say a fucking thing that's libertarian. He's going to destroy the Libertarian Party because everybody's going to think that whatever Justin Amash is, I mean, fuck, Gary Johnson sucked ass, but Justin Amash has been said.
All you get is Justin Amash equals libertarian.
Yeah.
In the rest of the people's minds.
Right. So he destroys
instead of hey, taking this motherfucker down equals libertarian.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to take this motherfucker down because it is fucking me, backwards, forwards, sideways, both ways.
You like Star Wars. I have the perfect fucking analogy for you. What it is the fucking, let's just use the GOP. The GOP is the empire.
Right.
Fucking what the Libertarian Party is supposed to be is the rebels. That's what it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But what Justin Amash will make it is the Hutt dynasty. He's going to make it Jabba the Hutt and his buddies. That's what he's going to make it. Or the Pikes. Mm-hmm. That's what he's going to make it. Something that is not that different from the Empire, and it doesn't do what the Empire does very well.
Yeah.
So in what we need and what wins these battles is the rebellion. We need to get back to our principles.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. So I wrote that, and you've written some stuff, very similar to this. But I wrote that piece that I wrote on Steam It a couple of years ago about how I think principles are like what are the magnets to a movement to influence and support. If you really truly offer principles that people can kind of anchor themselves to and realize they can come to that realization and be like, okay, this is not just some wishy-washy, we make it up as we go in order to gain power. And I think a lot of times I think power itself gets kind of a bad rap because people think that like power equals evil, and so the opposite of power is good. But actually, like the opposite of power is powerlessness.
Yeah.
And so power is fine when you are seizing your own power that you have to control your own destiny.
Yeah.
Okay. But in the sense of like accumulating power over other people, where you don't allow them to seize their own destiny, and instead you control their destiny for them, that sort of like power accumulation is very corruptible, and actually is just corrupt in its essence and in its nature. So when you think about how people perceive political movements that are not principled, but are just about gaining ballot access, gaining, elected offices, gaining influence. Mm-hmm. When that's your whole, when that, the platform itself, which really well made, and I want to say this because we've done a lot to like shit on the LP, but I want to make this perfectly clear to all of the people who might see this, who are hardcore Libertarian Party activists or small L libertarian activists. This is not about you.
Yeah.
This is about the types of people who take what you do and twist it into Justin Amash or Bob Barr or Gary Johnson and Bill Weld or Gary Johnson and Jim Gray. Is it Jim Gray? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you get this like milquetoast kind of Republican light, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We're a little bit, we're kind of in the middle. Tell me, libertarians in the party and outside the party, how much you feel like you're a little bit of the Republicans and a little bit of the Democrats. Because if you're not a little bit of fuck both of them, or a whole bunch of fuck both of them, then I don't know how libertarian you really are. Because I really feel like the principles, the guiding principles that bring people to rally behind a movement are based in a foundation, an anchor, a pillar of truth, of honesty, of like justice and freedom and peace. And those are the things that I signed up for, or that I thought I was signing up for. And what I found instead was, this is just the Smeagol's and the I don't know, what is it, Arathorn. You think you can wield the ring of power, but it just corrupts you.
Absolutely.
And you end up murdering your brother or murdering your cousin, or subjugating your people to an authority they didn't agree to be subject to. I don't want a part of that. And it pains me to say, because I have a lot of friends who are really, really hardworking, and they are dedicated, large L libertarians. And I want to make it, I don't know about you, but I think you agree with me on this, that what we have been saying is not about them. This is not about the people who I go and meet at my parish executive committee meetings, my state central committee meetings, my Baton Rouge, or St. Tammany Parish or East Baton Rouge Parish, or any of those things. This is not about those people. I love those people. Those people are really, really principled. We may not necessarily agree on everything. Some of them can't stand Adam. Some of them could take him or leave him. But I don't question their commitment to libertarianism as a principle, as a concept, a platform, of philosophy. The problem is that as you rise higher up the levels of this monster, it becomes just like all of the other political parties. There are gatekeepers, and those gatekeepers are all about keeping people out instead of opening the gates to let people in. It's really funny how there are certain people who actually are denied access to the Libertarian Party, and certain people who get pushed away. Maj Toure, for example. And the people who are embraced and who are allowed to remain.
Yeah.
And there's this ongoing thing with there's like a pedophile who it's like, well, he's a paid member, can't revoke his membership. Like, no, you can. You just say no, bro, you fuck little kids or whatever, you do shit that violates the NAP. Bye.
Yeah.
You signed this thing that says, I will not use force to achieve social or political goals or personal goals.
Yeah.
That counts.
Yeah. And where I'm at, because I agree with you, and what they did to Maj is awful. But where I'm at, just to kind of wrap this up, we've been at it for about an hour and a half, is I agree with you that this is not about, Don and I disagree on a lot of things, but I don't question him at all. I talked about Mark Rutherford earlier, same deal. I don't question them at all. I do question Justin Amash and the ability to just walk in and take over by people like him.
The timing is pretty remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah. And so because of that, I've decided. Now, I'm going to stay as involved as I can. Amber and I were talking today that because I'm an asshole and I'd love to be the thorn in these people's side. I was thinking about maybe 2024, we'll see what happens. I might run for Congress.
Ride that horse and kick the burrs into the sides.
Right. Yeah. Fuck them. But I was thinking I might run for Congress, and what I would do is say, vote no, vote Marcus Pulis, and have the A in Marcus Pulis be an anarchy symbol, put it right the fuck there in front of them, and tell them there is not a, should government? No, that's the end of it. I will never vote for anything. You want to reduce taxes by 0.1%? I'll reduce that. That's fine. It's in the direction I'm trying to go. But I'm not raising a motherfucking thing, right, and I'm not going to war, and I'm going to not do it. Fuck you. Fuck the and me. I'm going to be.
If I bought a house, I'd move to Indiana just to vote for you.
Right. So where I would be with that is because Amber and I discussed it. I would run as me. That means that when I'm on the fucking on the, if I won, which ain't gonna happen, but let's say I won and I'm in Congress, I'm gonna be like, fuck you, Mr. Speaker. You can go straight to fucking hell. We are not going to go to war. I'm going to do every fucking thing I can to tell all your goddamn secrets to everybody I can, because fuck you, fuck this government. I'm an anarchist, and that's the way I'm always going to be, and the LP better get fucking used to it, because I got a big mouth, and I'm going to make a hell of a lot of trouble.
Marcus out here trying to kill.
Right. Hey, you know what? I'm going to die eventually anyway. I would love to make it into the history books by being the guy that got shot because he said, fuck you on the Senate floor.
So there's actually research that's been done on like how kids fare when their dad's a martyr versus when their dad like leaves as a deadbeat.
Yeah.
And kids whose dad is like a martyr or something like that do way better.
Yeah.
Than if the dad's not there.
So
not the worst way to go.
At the end of the day, I'm going to be involved in the LP. But the problem they have now is we have a bunch of people that are libertarian-leaning Democrats or libertarian-leaning Republicans or whatever. I'm a libertarian-leaning anarchist, and that's exactly what they're going to get, and they better get used to it.
Yeah. Well, no, so that's the thing. So, like, you know, back to, like, the very beginning of this whole conversation, where we started off with this, it was a sort of a sense of obligation to kind of, you know, not use up for Adam.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, hey, we got 4 years to make up for whatever we fuck up right now, right?
Well, the way I look at it, man,
we might as well have fun and do what we really feel. Like, I don't want to have to hold my tongue anymore. Just be like, no, motherfucker, that's wrong. Like, I'm not gonna pretend to be like a light Republican who like is okay with the state doing this, and this because you know I don't want to make anybody upset or afraid or anything like that. No, like if you're afraid, maybe you need to check yourself. And I'm not going to check myself anymore.
Nope. And I'm going to suggest the exact same thing to Adam over and over and over again. We tried it this way. We tried to be respectable, and we tried to do all that. Oh, hell no. Adam needs to come out swinging the next time as an activist.
Yeah, so I'll say this. So I think what could be done that maybe could be done differently and better that would be less likely to piss all those people off is just be who you were when you and I fell in love with watching him do his YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. Be that and just ignore all the fuckery.
Yeah.
And just be you and keep being an activist and keep being the voice of these principles and these concepts and the idea of localization and dissolving the federal government and doing the only things that a president can do, and ignore Nick Sark or whoever the hell is the chair. Ignore all that shit. Because if you think about it, like, let's really think about this. What has Jacob Hornberger said about the chair? What has Joe Jorgensen said about the chair or the LP? Or, you know what I mean? Like, granted, I don't necessarily like enjoy listening to them like fumble over their explanations of how they're going to do things or what the fuck their ideas are or their plans are, but they haven't attacked the very entity that is going to presumably give them the nomination. Okay, so there's a way to just be raw yourself and just ignore that body for what it is, and just campaign to win the presidency and win the nomination, and don't even get involved in all the BS behind the scenes shit that in some ways, you know, I know whatever face she who should not be named, AFO, was a big part of like the initial shit that got, you know, the SAR works all pissed off in a tizzy in the very beginning. But you know, there was some fuckery involved there with her too, where I think she was trying to make some shit happen. And it worked. You know, he got the chairship again. There was a massive campaign to basically try to ruin the careers of everyone else who, you know, dared challenge him. But there's a way to do it where you can just be a really hardcore libertarian and just like pretend like the LP doesn't exist. And I think the delegates just appeal to delegates and try to get delegates to continue to join and to continue to be involved, because like give it credit for what it's done. Like in 2.5 years, we've got quite a few people who are delegates to the national convention this year and in 2018 who are avid ride or die Cookish supporters who support this platform. Let's build on that.
Yeah, I agree. And where I think that how we could do that strategically is stop aiming at any of this bullshit, because the LP sucks. Stop aiming at it. Yeah. Start attacking Donald Trump. Start attacking the Democrats. Go after, you know, at that time in 2024, Trump will be about out. But whoever they've got running right out of the gate, hit them. And hit them hard, and hit them with libertarian ideas over and over. And screw it. Adam has said that if he won the nomination and then didn't win, that he would spend the whole time telling them, well, if I had won, we wouldn't have this bullshit. Yeah. Do that.
Right. You know? Well, and you can do the same thing. You could even do that, you know, this time around. You have the opportunity to, all the way up to election and all the way through 2024, to, you don't have to be an asshole about it. You can do it in a way that's just, you know, constructively critical. You know, like, hey, you know, I would have said, doesn't matter where Aleppo is, like, we shouldn't be there. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like, why the fuck are we there? Anyway, it's and you know, I get it. Like, it's really easy to, just like with this Corona shit, you know, it's really easy to be like, somebody died. Okay, yeah, people die all the time, and I'm not saying that it's good that people die, and I'm not saying that I don't give a shit that people die. I'm just saying that, like, the fact that someone died does not mean you go bomb the fuck out of a whole country, or in the case of this Corona shit, that you shut down the whole world.
Right.
And make it to where people can't go outside and go, like, see their grandparents and shit.
Right. And I get that people are scared to leave their house. Don't make me stay in mine.
Right. That's the thing. It's like, it's you don't have to, like if you make it. I saw Eric July was going at it with Mark Cuban of all people. Like, it's like, damn, man, you know, because Eric he lives in Dallas, huge Mavericks fan. And Mark Cuban is like this, you know, he's like one of the, I don't know, in the top 100, top 1,000, you know, celebrity, you know, billionaire or whatever, owners of shit. Yeah. Pretty big dude. He's shitting in high cotton. So him going at it with Eric, it was kind of interesting. But, you know, Eric was saying, like, he said something about how, what if somebody goes to an event and then they go back home to their parent, or they go see their grandparents and they get them sick and then they die or whatever. And he's like, well, the grandparents can say, don't come over if you go to that concert.
Right.
You know?
Free will.
Like, it still all boils down to freedom of association, free will. And you can say, hey, like, I was very respectful. My parents, it's kind of crazy. It's been a few weeks since you and I have talked, but my mom, like, starts sending me stuff that I was like, whoa, wait a second. Who got to her? Today she sent me something from Alex Jones. I was like, what the hell's going on? It's pretty crazy. But anyway, it was, but early on when she was interrogating me, like, do you wear a mask? Do you wear gloves when you go to work? And all this stuff. I was like, no, I don't come within 20 feet of anybody. I don't touch anything that anybody else touches, except maybe like the door handle when I go in. And like, I know how to wash my hands, and I'm not even that scared to begin with. Like, I think this is pretty much overblown, but even with that, like, the people who are going there don't have to go there. I don't have to go there. I am free to quit my job, do something else, whatever, or just, find a way to say, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this. Or I can wear gloves and a mask if I want to. I choose not to. If other people think I'm going to get them sick, they can wear gloves and a mask. Like, there's all these things where, like, we can protect ourselves without someone else having to protect us from themselves.
Right.
And without someone else having to protect us from everyone else. It's really crazy when you really consider how far people are willing to go with all of this, just this, I don't know, this fuckery of invasion of your privacy and infringement on your rights because of fear of something bad happening if you don't, like, let people take advantage of you. It's the ultimate irony.
So just to wrap up a little bit, I want to kind of close with this kind of idea, is that when getting ready to have this conversation with you, I was looking at a cover, and what I think I'm going to do is basically say, and I don't remember exactly because I've not got the cover done yet, but I found a picture that has like a porcupine, the magazine cover, sitting underneath a elephant and a donkey, and it says, "Are you something like, are you sick of Republicans versus Democrats?" I'm going to add a line that says, "Are the libertarians indifferent?" Question mark. And the answer to that is, I was involved in, and I think you were too, in Ron Paul's run in 2012. And I watched. My wife, I wasn't able to be a delegate for Ron Paul because I had decided in the primary to vote against Hillary twice and, and voted for Barack Obama.
Well, I wasn't a delegate either, but I had a bunch of friends who were, and Louisiana was one of the unique states. Like, we had, so they have a primary that is a certain number of seats. It's not as bad as Missouri, where, like, their primary is literally a beauty pageant that has no delegates awarded, and then everything is awarded at the caucus that nobody knows about. In Louisiana, it's half and half. So half of the delegates are awarded by the primary in like an ordered. It's not any. Winner take all. It's broken down by percentage. So if you have below a certain threshold, you don't get any delegates. But then at the caucuses, they have delegates awarded, and then they send those delegates to the state convention and then the national convention and all that stuff. Well, anyway, so Louisiana had 74% of its delegates. And what's funny is, like, the way that they did it was, you had a bunch of people who positioned themselves to be friendly to the Republicans, who were like Rick Santorum voters or Mitt Romney voters, or who's the guy from Arkansas, the governor. Shit. Anyway, No, from Arkansas. That's Louisiana. The governor from Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, and there were a couple of other people. But anyway, what was happening was, it was crazy. We had people, they had I think they had 6 or maybe 8 slates of delegates, and it was 25 delegates that you could pick on a slate. And you just voted for the slate.
Yeah.
We had people who were on 5 out of 6 slates because they were friendly enough with enough people that they suckered them into putting them on their slate by just saying enough, little GOP talking pointy things to them. And the whole idea was, your system is corrupt. When we showed up on caucus day, there were people outside. I heard this. This is me hearing this with my own ears. This isn't hearsay or anything like that. I heard a woman standing outside one of the caucus polling places saying, "Where did all these people come from? How did they find out about this?" That's how fucked up it is. You're not supposed to know, and you're not supposed to go. You're supposed to stay home, and their people are supposed to pick who your nominee is.
Right. And Indiana was awful.
Physical force. Once we got 74%, they actually were they changed all the rules at the convention, and then they had a guy who had a hip replacement that they threw him to the ground and dislocated his titanium hip or whatever it was, and they're dragging him off, and they had cops and everything come in and remove people physically because they wouldn't go along with the new rules that the outgoing different position holders had lost. When they lost their seats, they lost their spots, they basically saw the coup coming and had a counter coup where they just not us, I wasn't there, but they had people arrested. Anyway, go ahead. What happened in Indiana?
Well, the Indiana was a little bit, even probably more corrupt than that, because long story short, they had one slate, and we did not. In Indiana, we only had about 20 to 30% of the vote. That was Ron Paul people. They shut us the fuck down. they this is your slate. How you got on the slate was you paid money. So Mitt Romney won 100% of the vote. 100%. Now, Ron Paul had been elected to and had delegates for 20% of the vote, roughly. It was 17%. But he got 0 delegates because we didn't have a bunch of money to pay to be on the on the slate, the one slate that you only got to vote up or down. You did not get to. There was no discussion, none of that. Either yes or no, and because we were only 20% of the vote, and we got actually 10% more because we got the Santorum people on our side, but 30% isn't enough. Up or down, 50-50, and we lost. So got 0. But what Amber said was the exact same things that were going on because she was a delegate for Ron Paul and did not make it through. There were 2 days for the convention, did not go back the second day because it was so damn corrupt. And all these people were doing was worshiping at the altar of any of the politicians that were there. And we've been voluntarist forever. So,
right.
So, but anyway, just as corrupt. And what I see in the Libertarian Party is either as much corruption or almost as much corruption. And the bad side of it is they're not good at this. The Libertarian Party is not good at being a corrupt political party. Murray Rothbard warned us that we had to be careful in the movement because there would eventually be people that were just involved, kind of like we were talking about earlier, just involved in the party, to be involved in the party, not to be for the movement. You and I and Adam and people like us, Dan Berman, Arvin Vora, even John McAfee, are all people that are involved in the movement, are involved in the philosophy of liberty.
Yeah, I think if you aren't considering quitting because of the fuckery, even if you stick around, if you haven't at least thought about it, I think you're in it just for the party, like the fact that it's a party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't help but be disillusioned by the shit that you see happen.
Yeah.
That's unprincipled as hell.
Yeah.
And it's all about all these other motivations.
Yep.
They had something that went out. It was like, where do you rank these different things? And it was like winning elections, maintaining ballot access, and like the principles of libertarianism was like, shouldn't that be like a foregone conclusion? Like at what point do any of those other things supersede the principles?
Right.
Like, why does it matter? Like, we could literally easily get ballot access, probably win the presidency if we just had like a Hillary Bernie ticket.
Yeah.
Where are our principles?
Right. I agree. The answer is the principles are with you and me, Chad. They're with people like us. And it is what it is. I don't know that I'm going to stay involved in the party. I'm going to pick and choose my battles within the party.
Sure.
But what I am going to do is continue to cause shit. I'm going to continue to be loud. I'm going to continue to preach fucking freedom. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to continue to do it.
Yeah, same here.
So if anybody has enjoyed this, I guess, broadcast, this video, whatever it is, please like, share, hit that little bell icon, subscribe, and go to my store, check out my stuff, and comment.
Get shirts like these.
Yes.
Remember the action is like a bunch of fuckery, and you just want to veto it?
Yeah.
Stay home and wear a shirt. Instead of I voted, you just say I vetoed.
That's right.
Or you can you don't have to stay home. You can walk around and show people, like, I didn't vote, motherfucker.
Yep.
Fuck these people.
Absolutely. And I appreciate everybody that watches this. And thank you very much. And stay free, my friends.